It's March, so that means St. Patrick's Day. We're gonna make St. Patrick's 3-leaf clover. This one I made reversible so that if you're feeling like an applique, you can have it this way. If you're not feeling like an applique, you can have it that way. And today I'm going to switch it up, and this is going to be my main color, and this color is going to be my applique color. So I'll show you that in a minute. This is an intermediate pattern, so if you have a little bit of experience, you shouldn't have any trouble at all with it. Let's get started. Here's the yarn that I used. It is a 5-weight bulky. This color is sage, and the weight on this is 3.5 ounces or 100 grams, and it's 109 yards. And this one I used pine needle for the color. For this particular one, this is going to be our main color this time, and this is going to be our applique color. So for the main color, make sure you get 2 of these, and for the applique color, you need 1 of these. I'm using a size G 4mm hook, my pair of scissors, yarn needle, and a stitch marker. And of course, you're going to need some polyfill. Also, I just wanted to mention that March is Kidney Cancer Awareness Month, and that's why I'm wearing these orange and black bracelets. The color for kidney cancer is orange. It's also why I'm wearing this jacket, but it's kind of coral. Still kind of looks orange. Anyways, let's make our slip knot. I'm going to chain 2. Two single crochets in the first chain. I'm going to chain 1, turn. I'll put 2 single crochets in each single crochet. Chain 1 again and turn. So these are our first 2 rows, and this is going to be the bottom of the leaf. Now we're going to put 2 single crochets in the first single crochet. We're going to do 1 in the next single crochet. Then we're going to put 2 single crochets in the next 2 single crochets. So that's going to give us an odd number of 7. And then I'm going to chain 1. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I'm going to turn, and we're going to do 2 single crochet in the first stitch. And we're going to single crochet in each until we get to the last. And then the last one, we'll put 2 again. So I'm going to keep widening this because you can see on this here. So when you look at the leaf, it's basically a heart. And as we're adding in the center, we're just going to keep widening this leaf out so it makes a nice curved heart shape as we're going along. So we're going to add an increase in this row. So this is row 1, 2, 3, 4. We're on row 5. 2 single crochet in the first. Then we do 1 in the next, each of the next 3 stitches. So there's 3. I'm going to do an increase, so I'm going to do 2 single crochets in the middle, and then I'm going to do 1 single crochet in each of the next 3. And then at the end, we're going to add an increase, so 2 single crochet in the end. Chain 1 and turn. So now we should have 12. And that's what we have. Okay, 2 single crochet, 1 single crochet in each stitch across until you get to the last one. And then we do our increase in the last stitch. Chain 1 and turn. Now we have 14 stitches. We're going to do 1 single crochet in each stitch across. So we're not going to do an increase on this row. And that last stitch sometimes is hard for me to get into. Okay, chain 1 and turn. We're going to do our increase. So in this row where we did not do an increase, you'll see me do that periodically. 2 single crochet. So we're doing an increase, and we're going to do 1 in each of the next 6 single crochet. And then in this next stitch, we're going to do an increase. So we'll do 2 single crochet in that stitch. Then we'll do 1 single crochet in each of the next 5 stitches. And then our increase in the last stitch. So here we'll have 17 stitches in this row. Chain 1 and turn. We're going to do single crochet in each stitch, so no increases in this row. We're going to chain 1 and turn. We're going to increase again in this first stitch, so 2 single crochet in the first stitch, and then 1 single crochet across until you get to the last stitch. And then we'll do our increase in the last stitch. Chain 1. We're going to increase again, single crochet across until the last stitch. Chain 1 and turn. Now we have 21 stitches. We'll do a single crochet in each across with no increases. Chain 1. This one is a little different. This is where you got to have your stitch marker handy. We're going to start with our increase. Then we're going to single crochet in the next 9 stitches. Now I'm going to slip stitch in the next stitch. And I'm going to take my marker and mark it. Next 9 stitches, do a single crochet. And then you get to the end and we'll do our increase. So this is our dividing line for when we begin. I just call them bumps, the 2 little bumps on the leaf. We're going to work them separately, and I'll show you how we do that, but this is just a friendly reminder of where to stop when we do the next row. Now we're going to start bump number 1. So chain 1, turn, single crochet in each of the next 10 stitches, no increase. And then I'm going to slip stitch in the next stitch, chain 1 and turn. We're going to skip this first slip stitch and then slip stitch in the next stitch. And then we're going to do 1 single crochet in each of the next 9 stitches. No increase. Chain 1 and turn. Now we're going to start our decreases so that we can begin making the round part of our leaf. So we're right about here, and we're going to start decreasing so that we can make this nice little curve. Okay, so a decrease is you put your hook through the first single crochet, draw up a loop, hook through second single crochet, draw up a loop, and then yarn over, draw through all 3 loops on the hook. And now we've got 1 single crochet out of these 2. Then single crochet in the next 6 stitches. And then we'll slip stitch in the next 2 stitches. Chain 1 and turn. You're going to skip this first slip stitch again, and we're going to slip stitch in each of the next 2 stitches. And then we're going to single crochet in each of the next 4 stitches. Then we're going to do a decrease over these 2. So again, it's push it through the first single crochet, draw up a loop, second single crochet, draw up a loop, yarn over, pull it through all 3 loops on the hook. Chain 1, turn. We're going to do a decrease again. This is our last row. We're going to do a decrease, single crochet in the next 3 stitches, and slip stitch in these 2 stitches. And then we're going to finish it off. So you see our first bump on our leaf. We're going to start with this next one. It's going to be similar but not exactly the same since we're going this direction. I wanted to keep the stitches consistently looking like they're in the same row. Otherwise it just kind of looks a little off. So we're going to start in the center. I'm going to remove my stitch marker. We're going to skip that stitch. We're going to join in this next stitch. So leave that slip stitch alone. Go into the next stitch and connect it there with the slip stitch. And then we're going to go ahead and single crochet in each of the next 10 stitches. Chain 1, turn, single crochet in the next 9 stitches, slip stitch in the next 2 stitches, chain 1 and turn. We're going to skip that first slip stitch and we're going to slip stitch in the next stitch, and then we're going to single crochet in each of the next 7 stitches. Last 2 stitches we're going to do our decrease again, and then we're going to chain 1 and turn. Decrease here, single crochet in each of the next 5, slip stitch in the last 2, chain 1, turn. This is going to be our last row here, but don't finish off, so we're not going to do the same thing where we snipped that. We're going to keep going around the leaf after we get done with this row. So we're going to skip the first slip stitch and then slip stitch in the next stitch, single crochet in each of the next 4 stitches, and then we're going to do our decrease and then chain 1. Here is our rough leaf, and this is why we're not going to finish off right now, because this edge you can see is really rough. So we want to clean that up, and we're going to go ahead and single crochet evenly all around this leaf. And my general rule of thumb for evenly single crocheting around the leaf is to just go 1 for each row of single crochet. So I chained 1, and I'm going to start crocheting around. Now we're at the end, so I'm going to do this last single crochet. Then we're going to join it together with a slip stitch. You're going to make 6 of these, and for 3 of them you're going to want to leave a normal tail, but for the other 3 you're going to want to leave a really long tail for sewing. So I go maybe 1.5 to 1 3/4 circumference, and then we're going to pull it through. So this is a nice long tail for sewing. Let's go ahead and make the optional applique. We're going to start the same way. We're going to start with 2 chains, 2 single crochet in the first chain, and then this next row, the second row, we're going to switch it up a little bit. we're going to do 1 single crochet in the first stitch, 2 single crochets in the last stitch, chain 1 and turn. We'll do an increase, so 2 single crochet in the middle, 2 single crochet in the last stitch. So that gives us 5. So I did an increase, a single crochet, and an increase. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 stitches. Chain 1 and turn. Do an increase again. Single crochet in 3, each of the 3 stitches, and then increase. So now we have 7. This is where we're going to start making our bumps. You can mark that center stitch again if you want to. This is so small that I didn't really have an issue with that. Okay, so I've chain 1 and turn, single crochet in the next 3 stitches. Then I'm going to slip stitch in that 4th stitch, chain 1, turn, single crochet in that 1st stitch, decrease in the next 2 stitches. So now we're left with 2 stitches. We're going to chain 1 and turn, then we're just going to do a decrease and then slip stitch and then finish it off. To make the second bump, we're going to go into the same stitch as that slip stitch in the middle, and we're going to join with a slip stitch, single crochet in the 3 stitches, chain 1, turn. We're going to do a decrease, then a single crochet, and then we're going to chain 1, and we're going to do a decrease. Here's our rough applique. We're going to do the same thing and single crochet around so that we can clean up those rough edges. Now I'm at the end, so I'm going to do my last single crochet and I'm going to join with a slip stitch. For these, you're going to definitely want to leave a long tail for each one of them, so I would do the same thing, roughly 1.5 to 1 3/4 of the circumference. Oops, I don't want to do my slip stitch at the end. You're going to want to make, it depends on what you want to do. These are totally optional. If you want to do it for both sides, you're going to need to make 6. If you want to do a reversible like this one, you only need to make 3. So your choice. Go ahead and make 6 of these, 3 with the regular tail, 3 with the long tail, and however many you want of these. If you want to do 3, if you want to do 6, if you want to do none at all. And I just wanted to mention how I do my tails as I go along. I don't like to weave in a lot of tails at the end of a project. So as I'm going, I like to tuck these behind my stitches as I go and go around them so that it's really, I mean, look at how neat that is. You can't even really tell, except for this little bit of fuzz at the end, where those tails were. So that's just one of my little tricks that I do that helps me with time. And after we get all these done, I'm going to come back and I'm going to show you how we construct our plush. Before we start constructing our plush, let's attach our appliques. For my plush, I am doing the same thing that I did with this one. I'm going to make it a reversible, so I only have 3 appliques to apply. I'm going to thread my yarn needle Try to get it as close to the center as you can. You can pin it if you want, but just try to get it as close to the center as you can. Make sure the points are together. And we're going to start right here. I like to go and whip stitch this here from underneath the applique so that you don't see the stitch coming out like this around. So go ahead and attach it with the whip stitch. I'm at my last stitch. I'm going to come in to where I started, pull that in nice. Then you're just going to want to weave in your ends. Trim it, and there you have it. Let's construct our plush now. Here are my pieces that have the long tail. If you hear that rumbling in the background, that is the fighter jets. They're out flying today. So you might be hearing that sound of freedom while we're going along here. Let's grab our two pieces, put them wrong sides together. So I can see this is my wrong side. It's obvious for this one because the applique is on the right side. But for this one that doesn't have the applique, you can tell the wrong side just by looking at where your tails are woven in. Also, this short tail will be on the opposite side of this long tail. We're going to whip stitch around. I'm going to come under both stitches, both loops. So I have 4 loops that I'm coming through. Whip stitch all the way around until you get to about there. I like to get about the 3rd or 4th stitch up on this bump. And then I leave that opening so that we can stuff our plush. I've gotten to this other tail. You want to make sure that you go ahead and tuck that in there. And then as you've been going along, just make sure that this stays lined up and that you're stitching evenly around so you don't get any weird wrinkles or bumps in your plush. So I tuck that in there, and I'm going to finish this up until I get to where I want to leave the opening. Okay, I'm going to do my last couple of stitches right here. Look at that. Puffy and fluffy, just the way we like it. I like to go in with my thumb, press that in to the edges. You can stuff this as much as you'd like, your preference, however firm, however soft. That's stuffed to my liking. I'm going to go ahead and close this up. Last whip stitch. I'm going to weave in my tail, and then let's trim. There we have our first leaf on our clover. How cute that is. Do the same with your next 2 leaves, whip stitch them together, stuff them, and then we are going to construct our 3 clover plush. Alrighty, now we have our 3 heart-shaped leaves for our 3-leaf clover. We're going to sew these together. It's going to come together like this. We're going to start in the center stitch, and we're going to connect 2 of the leaves together. We're going to whip stitch on the seam, so you can see the seam right here. We're going to whip stitch on the seam about halfway up. You can see about where we're going to stop. It kind of naturally stops right there. You can see where I stopped on this one. It's about halfway. And it makes a nice little crevice right there. So there's a lot of definition. So let's cut ourselves some yarn. I'm gonna make this, I don't really like to give actual like measurements. Things are always different for everyone. Your tension is different than my tension, so your stitches are not the same size as my stitches, etc., etc. So what I like to do is take the length that I'm gonna need to get up halfway, which is about this much. I'm gonna times it by 6. So I'm gonna measure it like this. There's 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And then I'm going to add just a little extra so I give myself plenty of yarn to work with. Because we're going to sew this together with one piece. We're not going to sew up halfways and then cut it off and then sew up again halfway and then cut it off, because that's just too much weaving in of ends, and those tend to stick out after you've had it for a while and it's been moved around and messed with, and then you see your tails start to poke up. I just don't like that. So the fewer tails that I have, the better. Let's start with these two. You can see where I'm going to join. So there's my stitch and there's my stitch. I'm going to start by going into this stitch. I'm going to come up, put it in this stitch, let's pull it all the way through, almost. Just leave yourself a couple inches. Then I'm going to tuck this tail in as I go along. I'm just going to stitch around it so that I don't have that sticking out. I'm going to go into the second stitch here and the second stitch here. And this is very clunky, so I understand why people don't like to do this kind of sewing, but this is a very small part of our overall pattern, so you'll make it through it, I promise. And come through here, go to the next stitch, and then keep going until you hit right about there. Make sure it's really nice and snug and work your way back down. And this doesn't have to go through too many layers. You're not really trying to secure them together with this. What you're really doing is moving back down toward that center so that you're not having an extra tail on each end of these that you have to weave in. You can do it that way if you want to. If you don't mind the extra tails and the weaving in, by all means, go ahead and do that. So here we have our first seam where we've connected 2 of our leaves. We're going to go ahead and do that 3 more times. Like I said, you're just going to connect it at the points first. The reason I did that is because when you go through this so many times, it really makes that nice and snug, and that doesn't really have any chance of pulling apart later. And you really do want to make sure that these are very secure. Let's connect our next leaf. We'll go right at the point, just like we did for the other 2. Work your way up on the seam, just like the last time. At this point, I'm going to take a look and see where I am. I think 1 more stitch. There we go. I'll come in and secure this in the same stitch again. So 1 more stitch right here. And then let's just work our way back down to that center. Like I said, you're not trying to secure it here. You're just making your way back. Okay, we're back at the center. I'm going to go through this first stitch again. Just get that nice and anchored. Then we're on our last seam. Yay! Do what you can. For this last seam, you want to go through this stitch again, this stitch at the end point again, and then you want to connect to the stitch on the point of the last leaf. That makes it really nice and snug and secure. And then you're going to want to go ahead and go through that last point again. Now just whip stitch, make your way up about halfway. I've gotten to where I want to be with this last seam. You don't have to do that same thing where you're going back toward the center because we are not headed anywhere else. I'm going to put another stitch, secure that again through the same stitch. I'm probably going to do that a couple times since I'm not headed back down the other way. Then I'm going to weave in this end. Then you trim it. We're done. You've made a 3-leaf clover for St. Patrick's Day. The pattern is up for sale. You can see that link in the description. Like, subscribe, and hit that bell. And I'll have more patterns up shortly. You all take care now.